Well, greetings everybody. Welcome to our King's channel. I do want to bring out when the day of Atonement will be, the Day of Atonement. It's a day that's a fast where you drink nothing, you eat nothing, you don't put lipstick on or anything that can be absorbed into the skin, no makeup, anything of that sort. You don't need it. One day, get rid of all the comforts and conveniences that you have and aggrieve your soul, afflict your soul on that day. No work is to be done. You're not to be playing card games or doing your own pleasure. It's a day that you should seek inward in your soul to figure out, using these give or take 613 commandments. And I do want to say, that all of them are not actually even listed in this list. And I'll show one to you. Here in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 11 is a law, or basically laws that are not listed, or at least described. You can see up here above my head where it shows Deuteronomy 25. This is in my dealie on Chrome, where I can go down to where it shows find, and then I can go over and punch in what I want to find on this page. So let's go down to Deuteronomy 25:11, what it says in the law. It's law number 247, allegedly, of the positive laws. This is monetary restitution must be paid in cases involving bodily damage. And it shows Deuteronomy 25:11 through 12 and Exodus 21:18 through 25. I want to show you what it shows in Deuteronomy, though, because it really doesn't do justice what it's saying there in that law. You really need to look up these scriptures to find out what it's saying. And here we are in Deuteronomy 25, verse 11. It says, if two men fight together, and the wife of one draws near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one attacking him, and puts out her hand and seizes him by his gonads, then, verse 12, then you shall cut off her hand, your eyes shall not pity her. So this is one of the laws that hopefully don't apply to anybody. Hopefully there's not going to be no one's wife out there grabbing some other guy that's fighting with their husband by the gonads to have her hand cut off. So you can see there are two laws actually in play right there. And this second law is also a judgment. You're to chop her hand off. And so with that, please understand, you don't find that written up here, okay? And these laws over here, these commandments, you won't find that there. You need to go into the scriptures and take a look. Read the book. Read the Holy Scriptures, like a novel from cover to cover. Whoever takes a Harry Potter book and opens it up in chapter 4 and starts reading, and then goes to chapter 12 and goes to chapter 1 and goes to chapter 3, no, they read it as a novel, and then, because their mind, their spirit that they have that's of this world, will guide them right to those spells in that book wherever things are so cool and interesting to show with their friends, and the practice and the disobedience against our Heavenly Father. That's why it's difficult. The God of this world has blinded their minds so they cannot see. You've had Christian Canaanites reading these scriptures for hundreds of years, and they still don't know what they say. They can't understand certain things. They're just blinded to it. And sometimes they like to argue that they're not blind, And it's difficult, if they only understood what the duty of me and my other 143,999 brothers is and will be as soon as we're sealed with the law that you could read of in Isaiah chapter 8. And that's why when I show you how to determine when the Day of Atonement is, when the 7th new moon took place, and when you should be blowing the shofars, 8:26 here p.m., so I have to keep it down a little bit, just in case the neighbor lady there, who's over 80 years old, she's probably already in bed, and they don't want to disturb her, making her think the angels are coming for her or anything like that. But the religions out there, even the synagogues, they're not teaching when the true feast start. These are appointed times, my friends. And we just went through the Feast of Trumpets. If you haven't, and you don't know about the Feast of Trumpets, please go view the last videos wherein I showed you how to determine what day is to be kept for the Feast of Trumpets. Was actually the 25th. So many people kept from the 26th and the 27th, you know. Some kept the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. And when I say the 25th, it was at sunset when they started keeping the Feast of Trumpets, wherein those that loved our Heavenly Father's law and were at his appointed feast at the time we were invited to be there. It was the 24th, which was the Sabbath, Saturday. At sunset began the Feast of Trumpets. It went past midnight, through the daybreak, right up until the sunset on the 25th. Sunday it was. But Yahweh's way is sunset to sunset. Man's way is from the midnight to midnight. So it's not easy sometimes to know these days, but they knew enough that they were saying that the 25th, even in New York where I'm at, the sun set at like 7:01 p.m. here, but the new moon took place at 5 o'clock p.m. before that sunset. And the fellow from New York, you know, he's like, oh, well, the new moon's there, so, you know, we got to be able to witness it. So we're going to keep the Feast of Trumpets from sunset on the 25th until sunset on the 27th, because we'll be certain to see the crescent then. The festivals have nothing to do with the crescent, my friends. I've brought out videos showing where King David was out in the field with Jonathan, and he told Jonathan, he says, hey, look, behold, tonight is the new moon. David knew he didn't have to see no crescent. And before the crescent was seen, David was already counting the days of the month from the new moon, okay? And so was Jonathan. And that's in the book of Kings. I'm glad I put it up there so you can see it. So I didn't want to look it up. But here we kept the Feast of Trumpets, and now we're getting on to the Day of Atonement, or the Day of Atonement. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, also the 10th day of the 7th month shall be the Day of Atonement. It shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire to Father Yahweh. Yahshua is doing that for us. Don't go sacrificing your chickens and your geese or your dog or cat. None of your sacrifices will be found worthy. In fact, it'll be in disobedience, because we're not to be sacrificing animals, trying to usurp the authority of our Heavenly Father's righteous Son, who is our high priest, doing them for us for these feast days. And it says, you shall do no work on that same day, for this is the Day of Atonement, to make atonement, to make amends, to make up to your Father for all the sins you done against him and his righteous Son throughout the year since you've been born. Ask forgiveness, afflict your souls, be sorrowful for ever doing such things. And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is the Day of Atonement, to make atonement for you before Yahweh your Father. For any person who is not afflicted in soul on that same day shall be cut off from his people. And the person who does any work on that same day, that person will I destroy from among his people. Now, when scriptures say in the alleged Old Testament, I'm going to do this, it's speaking of our Heavenly Father. But please understand that after Messiah was born and he laid his life down, took it back up again, our Father gave all things unto him. All these prophecies our King is bringing forth to fulfill in these last days, and all these writings of the Father, what he's going to do against somebody if they do wrong, is what our King is going to be doing against those that do so. He's standing in our Father's stead. He was given all things to bring forth all these prophecies. And I would believe these things and do your best to do it. You shall do no manner of work. I mean, you shouldn't be cooking or anything. It is a Sabbath, and you're not to eat anything, okay? So there's no reason to be eating. There's no reason to have to wash dishes or sweep a floor. And for some of you, it wouldn't hurt you to, humble yourself in a pile of ashes with sackcloth on even, you know. I know, I've done it. Believe you me, I did it many, many years ago, some almost 40 years ago when I was first called out and I realized how wretched a man I was. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever. See, Christian Canaanites can't read that, my friends. You have to explain it to them, and then you have to re-explain and re-explain and re-explain that forever means forever. It's never going to end. Our Messiah said in Matthew 5, verse 17, don't think I came to do away with the law or the prophecies or the prophets. And then a little further, he speaks of how not a tittle or a tittle is going to pass from the law till all things and the heavens and the earth are destroyed. And I have not seen the heavens or the earth destroyed, and they'll still be kept afterwards when a new heaven and earth is made. And this is a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be to you a Sabbath of solemn rest, and you shall afflict your souls. Yes, look into yourself. See where you've been falling short. See where you've been putting things off instead of adhering to it right at the time that you heard it. After, of course, you've seeked it out. But if your spirit testifies, you should be doing something. And I'm not saying like the lunar Sabbath lunatics there, you know, where their Sabbaths are completely different. You got to calculate them, and some seventh-day Sabbath is actually a ninth-day Sabbath or a third-day Sabbath or these kind of silly things. That's not what I'm saying that you should jump right into. But if you heard you shouldn't be eating pork and you ain't never read it, and there's something in you kind of testifies to you, you know, that, yeah, that is a critter that, you know, I probably shouldn't be eating, all the worms and everything that goes on in it, the diseases. Plus, even science shows it's very close to the same as human flesh, you know, so it's almost like eating people. Only not as bad, because when you touch a dead human, you are unclean for 7 days until the ashes of the red heifer are applied. Most people don't know that, but of course that's what Yahshua does for us now. He cleanses us. I actually did have the ashes of the red heifer on me several times, and everywhere I got hit, I got blistered. I got so sick, so ill from it, so I don't know if I was supposed to do it or if it was just cleansing the death out of me. But I was severely ill from the ashes, and now they're trying to tell people, oh yeah, you could just take a little ashes and put it in the pool. And then the priests over there, you know, if you heard about the red heifers that they now have over there in Israel, they came from Texas, and they plan on making ashes of the red heifer, for some reason saying it's got to be 2 years and a day old, which is a bunch of horse hockey. And they even get out a magnifying glass and they go over every square inch of that cow to see if there's a white hair on it, never realizing that these cows got these white tufts of hair coming right out their ears. Some of them do. I'm like, why in the world can't they see that, you know? But the way the ashes are applied is with hyssop. And because you sprinkle it into a pool for priests to go through, it does no such thing as cleanse them. There's a prescribed manner in which to use, and that is by hyssop. And all it takes is just a little drop of the ashes of the red heifer for the cleansing, but you got to get hit by them twice. It takes a 7-day period to cleanse from death, okay? But right now we're under our king, and he is keeping us clean as possibly can be. And who knows, maybe at the place of gathering we will be having the ashes of the red heifer. I don't know. We'll just have to wait on our king to see. But the stuff they got going on over in Israel is not at all spot on with scriptures, you know. Oh, you take just a little ash and put it in the pool, and the priest can go through and they'll be cleansed. And I mean, they got their ideas. Oh, 2 days, 3 days for the Feast of Trumpets. For crying out loud, our father said a day. Just like the Day of Atonement. Will y'all fast for 3 days for the Day of Atonement too? Or will you do what our Father says? 1 day. That shall be to you a Sabbath of solemn rest. And you shall afflict your souls on the 9th day of the month at evening. From evening to evening you shall celebrate your Sabbath. So let's quickly give a rundown and account as to when the Day of Atonement is going to be. This is September of 2022. Again, the Farmer's Almanac I use. This is my zip code here, September 22, and we used this in the last videos. Where it shows on the 25th. From the 24th at sundown to the 25th at sundown was the new moon. This was day 1. So we'll go, that's day 1. The 26th is 2. 27 is 3, 28 is 4, 29 is 5, 30 is 6. Then we go to another month. Then we have the Sabbath day, which is the 1st of October, as the 7th. Then the 8th day is Sunday. The 9th day is Monday the 3rd. So Monday the 3rd at sunset through the 4th, which is the 10th day at sunset, you eat nothing, you drink nothing, you put on no suntan lotion, you don't lubricate your arms, with petroleum Vaseline or whatever you do, you don't paint your faces like a fence or anything. You just do your best not to let anything come into you by your hands, or any other means. And yes, if you have an infant or toddlers that don't understand, by all means feed them, but don't let them feed you. And unless our King gives me better clarification on that, check it out yourself. But I never put my children through that. And by the time they got to being like 3 or 4 years old, they started putting their best effort into keeping the Day of Atonement. Sometimes it couldn't last. They got to crying and everything. And they don't understand, okay? And to this day, none of my children know my King. They think they do. They think they did, but none of them ever did. But they're still on a journey. They're in my King's hand. So anyway, here on October 3rd at sunset until the 4th, Tuesday, Monday afternoon, when the sun sets, in the evening, whatever, when the sun sets on Monday, begins the day of at 1 minute. It's very important you understand this, my friends. It's one time in your life you don't want to mess up, but you do want to recall all the things you messed up on and ask forgiveness if you haven't done so already. And mean it. Be sorrowful you ever did such a dumb thing. And from Monday at sunset to Tuesday at sunset, the 4th, is the Day of Atonement. And again, if you see people out there, take a look on people's videos or whatever, and if they're keeping the wrong day, inform them that they should keep the right day. You know now what days to keep. But while I've got you here right now, here it shows the Feast of Tabernacles. And let's take a quick look at when that takes place, since we know that Monday at sunset to Tuesday at sunset is the 10th day. The 4th of October is the 10th day. 5 days from there, or I should say 4 days from there, at sunset will begin the Feast of Tabernacles. Here in Leviticus 23:33, then Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day, the 15th day of this 7th month, shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Father. And I know there's a lot of groups out there say, well, it's a day. It doesn't say the night, We only have feasts during the day, and at night it's, whatever, but it's not a feast. No, this is from sunset to sunset to sunset to sunset. Each one of those periods of time, even though there's a night involved there, is known as a day. That's why they say, what day of the week is it? Well, it's got a 24-hour period for a day of a week, and so does Father Yahweh have a day. So speak to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Father. Now, please understand, there was a time that her father was so pleased with the children keeping the Feast of Tabernacles that he begged them to stay one more day. And so we now celebrate that extra day, which is in here. I just wanted you to know why, okay? It's not like it's a contradiction or mistakes within the scriptures that are taking place. It's just one day was added to the feast, the great day. But the 7 days of the feast are to symbolize the 7,000 years, or I should say the 6,000 years that man has been given on the earth. And then at the end of that 6,000 years, our Messiah is going to begin his reign for 1,000 years or a day. 1,000 years is but a day to our Father, see? So that's what these days basically symbolize. And then, of course, our Father was, again, so pleased that he added an 8th day to the feast. But at one time, there was only 7. Leviticus 23:35, on the first day there shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no customary work on it. Doesn't matter what day of the week that it falls on. It is a Sabbath, and you also still keep the 7th-day Sabbaths. And that's how, of course, we calculated the day of Pentecost with the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that you start the count of the 50 days the day after the 7th-day Sabbath during the 7-day Feast of Unleavened Bread. Here, of course, in verse 36, our Messiah is taking care of these offerings, the sacrifices and such. He will be doing it forever. Now in verse 37 says, these are the feasts of Yahweh which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. And that's why it's important to try to cleanse yourself out. I've been doing a whole lot of, I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty black because I've been eating ashes like bread. Here you can see I got activated charcoal, and I've been making me these smoothies with bananas and licorice root and beetroot, noni, and all sorts of stuff I put in there. Elderberry powder, and that's what I even put peanut butter in there with the banana, some honey, and it's got bee pollen, all sorts of stuff I put in there. But the importance of the activated charcoal is it pulls out toxins out of your holy temple. And I'll tell you, I was so sick earlier. Last few days were just hellacious, I'll tell you. And yesterday I had my first glass of this. And of course, I'm still doing the lemonade most every day. I'm just breaking off from it to do my eating my ashes like bread here, which I believe like King David had spoke of. We'll get into another time, but here in Psalms 102:9 says, for I have eaten ashes like bread, and mingled my drink with weeping. Yes, and this here explains Yahweh's eternal love for us, another video that I'd like to bring out shortly. However, these are holy convocations. You don't want no unclean stuff with you, my friends. This says, and then again, our king's going to do the offerings, and all these things our king is going to do for us. And it says, besides the Sabbaths of Yahweh, besides your gifts, besides your vows and everything else, it says, also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep the feast of Yahweh for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a Sabbath of rest, and on the 8th day a Sabbath rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of beautiful trees, branches of palm tree. You'll see me have my tent set up over here behind me above my bed. I've done this year after year, and I'll have some branches and such from the trees that I will go out and harvest. And this isn't saying to go out here, as far as I know, on the 15th day, which is a Sabbath, to get your boughs of the trees and such. I say prepare for this beforehand. And I know some people can, confuse these things or whatever, but look, it's a Sabbath of rest. And if you're resting, you're not going out there and gathering boughs of trees and stuff to make yourself booths with and such on the 15th day. Prepare for the feast to make it joyous. And on the 8th day will be a Sabbath rest, no matter what day of the week it falls on. Again, it says, you shall take for yourselves the first day the fruit of beautiful trees. Now, I'm talking about making booths for yourselves and such. As it talks about in Leviticus 23:42, it says, you shall dwell in booths for 7 days. And a lot of people will make these booths out of these branches and stuff they gather. Don't make your booths on the Sabbath. But on the 15th day, on that day, like it shows here, the first day, on the first day, which is this 15th day, and you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of beautiful trees. Yeah, go ahead and gather some fruit. Branches of palm trees, the boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook. I grabbed the American beautyberry branches and some of the maple tree branches or whatever branches I see that I like and would like to have in the house that are bug free. I bring them in and it says, and you shall rejoice before Yahweh for 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to the Father for 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. But also don't forget this here 8th day was added, and that is to be a Sabbath day of rest as well. So I hope this isn't too confusing. Let's take a look at how to finish the count here. This is October 2022, and here from the 3rd, the Monday, the 3rd of October until the 4th was the 10th day. So then we have the 5th as the 11th, the 6th is the 12th, the 7th is the 13th, the 8th is the 14th. So Sabbath at evening, right there at sunset, will begin the 15th day. So you'll celebrate the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles, Saturday the 8th at sunset until the 9th at sunset. And look at that. There's going to be a full moon on the very first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And you know the significance of that, my friends. Those that kept the Feast of Trumpets from the 25th at sundown until whenever, well, when they count out for their 15 days, they're going to come at least to the 9th at sunset to start their Feast of Tabernacles. And they won't even have a full moon during the feast. Sure, it'll still be 99.3%, but it won't be the full moon that King David used, and so did the prophets of old, and those that kept track of these times from the new moon of the 25th of September until the 9th of October. And then it'll be 14.769 days from 4:54 p.m. It'll be 14.765 days to the new moon on the 25th. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, let's look this up. Well, anyway, it shows here, I seen differently, and this is probably one of those glitches in the matrix or something, I don't know. But here it shows moon takes approximately 14.81 days to reach from the new moon to the full moon. And telling you, I'm having a little difficulty here figuring that out here. As you can see from this full moon here on the 9th, it's way more than 14 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I don't know what's going on, my friends. But as you see, we've been doing the count regardless. It's got to be a glitch in the matrix, I tell you. But we accurately have gone through the counting of days from the new moon that was seen on September 25th. Like 503 or 504 or whatever it was that it took place. And check my figures, prove all things here on our King's channel. But the Day of Atonement should be Monday at sunset to Tuesday at sunset, which is the 10th day of the month. And from the 8th, the Sabbath, the 7th day Sabbath, when it ends, will begin the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles, which will further all the way through Sunday, where there will be the full moon, and it will end on Sunday at sundown. That's the 15th. And for 7 days. So the 9th here is day 1. The 2nd day is the 10th. The 3rd is the 11th. The 4th is the 12th. The 13th is the 5th. The 14th is the 6th. The 15th is the 7th. So then the 8th day of the feast will come about at the end of the Sabbath, the 15th at sundown until the 16th at sundown will be the 8th day and the last great day of the Feast of Tabernacles. I hope this helped you all. Any questions or whatever you got, except for the count between a new moon and a full moon again, because I don't know where that glitch came from. I don't ever recall it being such before, but we are to prove all things. I don't know, I used to be able to calculate things in the days because I proved it when I first heard it. And as you see right here in the search, you know how many days from new moon to full moon. Moon takes approximately 14.81 days. And when we checked it out, there's got to be a glitch, because there is no way that's 14.1 or 15 days from here to here, from the 9th to the 25th. It just don't work. But then again, you got all the Christians out there in the world thinking my king spent 3 days in the grave. They forget that night, you know. He rose before sunup. When he rose, he was in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. So there ain't none of that Good Friday to Sunday or whatever even being 3 days, you know. And that's just because they can't read. So with that, I hope you all can read a little better now. I do love you all severely. Let's also pray for the gathering. This world is getting crazy. I want to bring a video out on that aspect, which will hopefully be the next one we bring out. Now you know all about when to keep the Day of Atonement, how to do so, when to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Please rejoice, my friends. Get the best of foods. Don't get none of that GMO crapola or anything with the small seed oil. I don't care if it says organic. It's all rancid. Get the best of the best and celebrate for all 8 days of this great Feast of Tabernacles that's coming up. And don't forget, Scripture does talk of when our King does return. Do you know what the first thing he's going to proclaim is? Y'all come up to the Feast of Tabernacles. So if the Jesus did away with it, that's fine. Yahshua didn't. With that, I do love y'all. Bye.